I didn't come to Ridgeview High looking for trouble. In fact, my plan was the opposite. Keep my head down, blend in, get through junior year without making enemies. But trouble has a way of finding you, especially when your first day starts with a collision course. Literally. I was juggling a stack of textbooks, a crumpled school map, and the mental math of locker 212 is where, exactly, when it happened. One wrong turn in the hallway and I slammed straight into her. Vanessa Sharp. If Ridgeview High had a royal family, she was queen. Ice blonde hair, designer shoes, and an expression that could make you apologize for existing. Her two shadows were right beside her. Brooke Miller, all height and muscle with a smirk sharp enough to cut glass, and Lila Cruz, tiny, bubbly, and laughing at everything Vanessa said like it was rehearsed. My books hit the floor. One landed in a puddle of iced coffee at Vanessa's feet. The hallway went dead silent. She looked down at the soggy cover, then up at me, smiling without warmth. Cute. Are you always this clumsy, or is this just for me? A few people laughed. I could feel their eyes on me, waiting to see if I'd stammer or cry. I didn't give her that satisfaction. I muttered an apology, scooped up my books, and walked away. But I knew. Even before I found my locker, before the first whisper reached my ears, I knew exactly what had happened. I'd just been marked. Vanessa Sharp wasn't the kind of girl who forgot a slight, real or imagined. And from what little I'd heard, she didn't just dislike people, she erased them. I told myself I'd just avoid her, stay in my lane. But somewhere in the back of my mind, another thought started forming. If she wanted to make me her enemy, she'd regret it. At the time, I didn't know exactly how, I just knew one thing. By the end of the year, the girl who tried to ruin me would be standing in the ruins of her own little kingdom, and I'd be the one holding the match. By lunch, the story was already everywhere. Not the truth was boring. Instead, people whispered about how I'd been expelled from my old school for fighting a teacher. I didn't even know where that came from, but in high school, it doesn't matter if a rumor makes sense. It only matters if it sticks. And this one stuck fast. I sat alone at the edge of the cafeteria, pretending not to notice the sideways glances. That's when she appeared. Not Vanessa, but someone else. Tessa Navarro. She slid into the seat across from me without asking, tearing open a bag of pretzels like she owned the table. Dark curls, paint on her sleeves, eyes that looked like they'd seen too much to be impressed by high school games. "You're brave," she said between bites. "For sitting here?" I asked. "For breathing the same air as Vanessa Sharp without permission." She didn't bother lowering her voice. Tessa explained the hierarchy. Vanessa was queen. Brooke was her enforcer. Leela was her mascot, the smiling, harmless face of something far uglier. Together, they didn't just dislike people. They dismantled them. Friendships, reputations, entire seasons of sports. Gone, if it amused them. I kept my face neutral, but inside, something tightened. I wasn't planning on making friends, but the idea of letting someone like Vanessa have that kind of power over me, that was never going to happen. "Why?" I asked. "What's the point?" Tessa shrugged. Entertainment, control, probably both. We talked until the bell rang. As she left, she leaned closer and said something that stuck with me. "If they've decided you're a target, you either hide or you fight back. And trust me, hiding doesn't work for long." I walked to my next class with my books pressed tight to my chest. She was right. I was already on their radar. Vanessa had made her first move. I wasn't sure yet what my counterattack would be, but I knew this. She'd drawn first blood. And I wasn't the type to let that go unanswered. 2 days later, I was in gym class when Coach Daniels decided we were doing a soccer scrimmage. I hadn't played seriously in over a year, but once I was on the field, it all came back. The weight of the ball under my foot, the way the world narrowed to green turf and goalposts. I stole the ball from one of the faster girls, sprinted past 2 defenders, and sent it straight into the back of the net. Coach Daniels blew her whistle so loud it made my ears ring. "Torres, ever think about joining the team?" I hadn't, but apparently someone else had an opinion. Vanessa, who just happened to be the team captain, froze mid-step. Even from across the field, I could see her jaw tighten. To her, my goal wasn't just a point, it was a challenge. When class ended, Coach caught me by the bleachers. "You've got speed, kid. Tryouts are next week. We could use you." I was about to say I'd think about it when Vanessa walked past with Brooke and Lila, her voice pitched high enough to reach me. "Guess they're letting anyone on the team now. Standards must be slipping." I smiled to myself. Decision made. "I'll be there," I told Coach. That afternoon, I found Tessa in the art room, working on a half-painted mural. "I'm trying out for soccer," I said. She nearly dropped her brush. "You're signing up to spend every practice with Vanessa?" "Yep." "That's not brave, Sam. That's suicidal." I shrugged. "Maybe. Or maybe it's the perfect way to get close enough to see her weaknesses." Tessa gave me a long look, then smirked. "If you're serious about that, I might just help you." Walking home, I realized something important. I'd stopped thinking about avoiding Vanessa. I was already thinking about how to beat her. And sometimes the best way to take down a queen is to challenge her on her own board. If you want to beat someone like Vanessa Sharp, you don't start by going for the crown. You start by finding the cracks in it. So that's what I did. I watched her, not in the obvious, creepy way, but in the way you watch a chessboard before making your first move. I noticed the way Brooke's smile faded whenever Vanessa cut her off mid-sentence. The way Lila laughed along at Vanessa's jokes, even when the joke was about her. The way Vanessa forgot to include them in certain conversations as if reminding them who held the power. And I listened. People talk more than they think when you act like you're not listening. I learned Brooke thought she should be team captain, and that Vanessa kept her close just to keep her in check. I learned Lila lived for the approval of the group, even if it meant being the punchline. To most people, they looked unbreakable. To me, they looked like three girls walking on thin ice, pretending it was solid ground. I told Tessa what I'd noticed. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. "So, you're going to, make them hate each other?" I smiled. "I'm not going to make them do anything. I'm just going to give them little pushes in the right direction." Vanessa expected direct confrontation. That's how she crushed people, head-on in public where everyone could watch. But if I came at her that way, she'd swat me down before I got close. No, I needed her guard lowered. I needed her to think she was still in control while I worked underneath it all. And when the cracks widened enough, she'd have no idea I was the one holding the crowbar. Step one was obvious. Brooke. She was competitive, ambitious, and already frustrated. If I could get her to start doubting Vanessa's loyalty, the Trinity wouldn't be 3 against 1 anymore. It would be 2 against 2. And soon enough, 1 against all. I didn't come right out and accuse Vanessa of anything. That would have been sloppy. Instead, I played it like I didn't even realize I was stirring the pot. It started at soccer practice. During water breaks, I'd end up next to Brooke. At first, we just talked about drills or complained about the humidity. Then, one afternoon, I brought up last year's championship game. "I saw a clip online," I said casually, like it had just popped into my head. "That play you made at the end, amazing." Brooke's face lit up for half a second before she shrugged. "Yeah, thanks." "Vanessa must have been proud," I added. "She was talking about it the other day like—" I stopped mid-sentence like I'd just realized I'd said too much. "Like what?" Brooke pressed. "Nothing, just—" She made it sound like it was her move. I gave a quick, awkward laugh, probably just me mishearing. It wasn't, but I let the idea hang there. Over the next week, I kept planting little seeds. After cheer practice, I overheard the coach praising Brooke's routine, then mentioned that Vanessa said she helped design it. During a scrimmage, I asked Brooke if Vanessa had ever thanked her for covering when she missed a key shot. She hadn't. Each time, I watched Brooke's jaw tighten just a little more. Her jokes around Vanessa got sharper, her smiles shorter. She still stood next to her in the hallway, but the space between them was growing, invisible to most, but clear to me. Tessa noticed too. "You're good at this," she said one afternoon as we walked home. "It's just about giving people the truth they were already half suspecting," I told her. "They do the rest themselves." By Friday, I didn't need to do much more. Brooke was already replaying every time Vanessa had stolen credit, every time she'd been made to feel second best. And once someone starts keeping score, it's only a matter of time before they start playing for themselves. Turning Brooke was only the first step. The real fun started when Tessa and I decided to bring the whole thing online. We created an Instagram account called Ridgeview Insider. No profile picture, no personal posts, just grainy, slightly out of focus shots of people around school with captions vague enough to make everyone paranoid. The trick wasn't to post anything outright damning. It was to post just enough for people to connect their own dots, even if those dots didn't exist. One of our first posts was a blurry photo of Brooke talking to a guy from our rival school, captioned, "Guess loyalty has its limits." It didn't say who she was supposedly betraying, but Vanessa didn't need much imagination. Another post showed Vanessa at a party she'd sworn to the team she didn't attend. The caption, "Funny how some people's schedules clear up for the right crowd." The comment section lit up with speculation. Half the school was hooked within a week. I made sure Brooke saw Vanessa's post. I made sure Vanessa saw Brooke's. And I didn't even have to show Lila anything. She was watching the drama unfold in real time, keeping her mouth shut but clearly enjoying the show. Tessa handled the timing of the posts. I handled the placement of the whispers. I'd accidentally mention something from the account in the locker room, wait for someone else to bring it up in front of the Trinity, and then watch the cracks spread a little wider. It was subtle. No one could trace it back to me, but the paranoia was starting to sink in. Vanessa and Brooke weren't laughing as much together. Their huddled conversations now had an edge to them, and I knew, once paranoia takes root, it grows fast. The only question left was when Lila would decide she was better off choosing a side. I didn't have to work as hard on Lila. With her, all I needed was patience. The opportunity came after practice one afternoon. I was grabbing my bag from the locker room when I heard Vanessa's voice carrying from the other side of the row. She was talking to another teammate, loud enough that I couldn't tell if she didn't care who heard or if she wanted people to. "Lila, she's fine. You keep her around because she's good for laughs, like a pet." The other girl laughed. Vanessa laughed louder. I froze for a second, then slowly pulled out my phone. One tap, and I was recording. I didn't move until the conversation ended and their voices faded down the hall. That recording burned a hole in my pocket for 2 days. I didn't rush it. Lila had to hear it when it would sting the most. I found her by the vending machines after school. She was alone, scrolling on her phone. I walked up like I was hesitating to even say what I had. "You should probably hear this," I told her, pressing play. Her eyes flicked from the phone to me, then back again. She listened without saying a word. When it ended, she stood there for a moment, the hum of the vending machine filling the silence. "She said that?" Her voice cracked, but just a little. "Straight from the source." I didn't add anything else. I didn't have to. Layla didn't storm off. She didn't cry. She just nodded, stuffed her change back into her pocket, and walked away. But her smile, the one she always wore around Vanessa, didn't show up for the rest of the week. Tessa asked me later if I thought Lila would actually turn. "She doesn't have to turn yet," I said. "She just has to stop protecting Vanessa." Because, in a group like theirs, the moment one person hesitates, the whole structure starts to wobble. Ridgeview's Fall Festival is the kind of event people plan their outfits for weeks in advance. Booths line the football field, the marching band plays on repeat, and the whole thing ends with the crowning of the Harvest Queen. This year, everyone already knew who'd win. Vanessa Sharp had been campaigning without calling it a campaign. Perfectly timed photo ops, smiles for teachers, compliments for freshmen. The crown was hers, or so she thought. By the time the festival rolled around, the Trinity wasn't moving in perfect sync anymore. Brooke was keeping her conversations with Vanessa short, sharp. Lila stayed just close enough to keep up appearances, but she wasn't laughing at Vanessa's jokes anymore. Not that Vanessa noticed. She was too busy soaking in the attention. Tessa and I drifted between booths, watching. I didn't have to push anything today. The work was already done. Brooke's tension was visible to anyone paying attention. Lila's absence from their usual group photos had been noticed by more than a few people. During the pie-eating contest, Brooke made a comment about people who always need the spotlight. Not loud enough for the crowd to hear, but loud enough for Vanessa to snap her head around. Later, while Vanessa posed for the local paper by the raffle table, Leila forgot to hold her bag. It tipped over, spilling the contents onto the grass, and right on top was a folded printout of one of Ridgeview Insider's posts about Vanessa. She scooped it up quickly, but Vanessa had already seen it. The glare she gave Lila could have cut glass. Leila just smiled, like she didn't understand why Vanessa was upset. By the time the Harvest Queen ceremony started, the three of them were standing together in name only. I stood near the back of the crowd, arms crossed, watching Vanessa take the stage to accept her crown. Everyone clapped, but even from where I stood, I could see her eyes flick between Brooke and Lila. She wasn't thinking about the crown. She was wondering which one of them had the knife. The thing about Vanessa Sharp is that she thrives on control. Take that away, and she doesn't just crack, she shatters. The Harvest Queen crown had barely touched her head when the screen behind the stage flickered. It was supposed to be a slideshow of smiling students and festival highlights. Instead, the first image was a grainy shot of Vanessa passed out on a couch at a party, the same one she swore she never went to. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Before anyone could process it, another photo appeared. Vanessa screaming at Brooke in the locker room, hair a mess, face twisted. Then another, Vanessa with a boy who definitely wasn't her boyfriend. And then came the captions. Not from Ridgeview Insider, but in the same style. Harvest Queen or Harvest Drama. Guess honesty didn't make the ballot. Vanessa froze. She looked to Brooke, but Brooke was already backing away. Then her eyes darted to Lila, who stepped forward, pulling a sheet of paper from her purse. I wonder, Lila said loudly enough for the front rows to hear, if the school would still vote for her if they knew what she really thought about her so-called friends. She read from the page, word for word from the recording I'd given her. Every syllable landed like a slap. By the time she was done, the crowd was buzzing. The teachers on stage were fumbling to shut off the slideshow. Vanessa's face was pale, her crown slipping as she turned on Brooke. "You did this," she hissed. Brooke didn't deny it. She just smiled, the kind of smile you give someone when they've finally gotten what they deserve. The ceremony ended without applause. Vanessa yanked off her crown and stormed away, Brooke and Lila letting her go without a glance. From the back of the crowd, I watched it all. The implosion wasn't loud, but it was final. And the best part? Not one person suspected me. Didn't show up for first period. Or second. Word was she'd called in sick, though the truth was she couldn't stand walking into a hallway where every whisper might be about her. Brooke and Lila? They were still talking to people, just not to each other. Brooke had thrown herself into soccer practice like nothing had happened. Lila started eating lunch with the drama club. Neither of them even tried to fix what was broken. Coach Daniels called me over after practice that week. "You're in," she said simply, handing me a team jersey. I tried to keep my smile measured, but inside I felt a spark of satisfaction. Vanessa had wanted me gone before I ever set foot on the field. Now, her name wasn't even on the roster. Walking home with Tessa, I told her I'd expected more of a fight from Vanessa. She shrugged. People like her don't fight fair, and when they lose control, they don't know how to recover. You took away the thing she cared about most, being untouchable. That night, I sat on my bed and replayed the last few weeks in my head. Every step had been deliberate. Every word, every glance, every accidental moment had built toward that day on the stage. And now, she was the one hiding. It wasn't just about payback. It was about balance. Vanessa had made it her job to humiliate me before she even knew me. She'd done it to others too, and no one had stopped her. So I stopped her. The best part? She had no idea I was the reason her perfect little empire fell apart. And that meant, if she ever came back, I'd still have the upper hand. I fell asleep that night with my jersey draped over the chair in my room. For the first time since stepping into Ridgeview High, I felt like I belonged there. And it felt even better knowing I'd earned it the hard way. Vanessa never came back to Ridgeview High, not officially, anyway. 2 weeks after the fall festival, the rumors solidified. She'd transferred to a private school across town. Some said it was her parents' idea. Others claimed she begged for it. Either way, she was gone. The school adjusted fast. Brooke kept her spot on the cheer team but lost the captaincy to a sophomore who actually treated people like teammates. She still played hard on the soccer field, but the edge she used to have around me? Gone. Lila surprised me most. She didn't try to climb back into Brooke's good graces or find a new queen to follow. Instead, she joined the art club with Tessa. The first time I saw them laughing together over a paint-splattered table, I almost didn't recognize her. The hallways felt lighter without Vanessa's shadow hanging over them. People weren't walking on eggshells anymore, waiting for the next public humiliation. Even teachers seemed more relaxed. Tessa and I never talked openly about what we'd done. We didn't have to. Every time we passed in the hallway, there was this unspoken acknowledgement. We did that. And I kept my own secret. No one, not even Tessa, knew just how carefully I'd timed each step. She'd been my accomplice, sure, but the blueprint, that was mine alone. Sometimes I wondered if Vanessa ever figured it out, if she sat in her new school, scrolling through old photos of the three of them and replayed that night on stage, if she realized it wasn't Brooke or Lila who lit the match. But I doubted it. People like Vanessa don't believe they can be outplayed. And maybe that's why it was so easy to beat her. It happened months later. Soccer season was in full swing, midterms were over, and Vanessa Sharp had become nothing more than a cautionary tale told in whispers to freshmen. I'd stopped thinking about her until I opened my locker one Friday afternoon. Inside, tucked between my history book and a folded hoodie, was an envelope. No name on the front, no clue who had put it there. I glanced up and down the hall, empty. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No signature, just a short sentence in neat handwriting. Thanks for the wake-up call. B. I didn't need to guess. Brooke Miller wasn't the type to hand out compliments, but this wasn't really a compliment. It was acknowledgement. She knew. I folded the paper back up and slid it into my bag. That night at practice, Brooke passed me the ball with more force than necessary. I caught it clean, dribbled past her, and scored. She didn't say a word, just smirked, the same sharp-edged smile she'd once reserved for Vanessa. Maybe it was her way of saying we were even. Or maybe she was reminding me that power never really disappears. It just shifts hands. Either way, I walked off the field feeling lighter. The jersey on my back didn't just mean I was part of the team. It meant I'd earned my place in a school where I'd been marked as prey on day one. Vanessa thought she could erase me. Instead, she erased herself. And the best part? She'll never know who actually set the stage for her fall. That crown she wore for 30 seconds at the fall festival? I was the one who made sure it slipped. And if anyone asks, well, let's just say I've learned the value of keeping certain stories to myself. If you enjoyed watching Vanessa's perfect little kingdom crumble, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories where the ones who start the fight never see the ending coming. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in my shoes?